I'm Kane Pittard. I'm at Butler College as part of the Education Department of WA, one of the schools there. You can reach me on Twitter at Kane Pittard. It's probably the easiest way if you want to get in contact with me for support or help or any sort of questions. So I'm going to start off with, why do we create videos? Simply, we create videos because we want the reaction of what we see of those kids in the picture. Our students are often going to be at home, especially during the 2020 pandemic. We want them to be able to engage with their learning and be clear in what they need to do, get the material information they want and require, and hopefully be entertaining to them. And also, hearing your voice is a bit more of a connection. So before we start the video, I do need to reiterate that you do not need to put yourself in the videos. A lot of studies have shown that you can simply have the voiceover, and whatever visual images you wish to put in there is very, very effective. There's no difference in effectiveness in terms of showing the actual you as a teacher. So if you're unsure about wanting to share your image talking in the video, you do not have to do that. There is no benefit in terms of learning. There may be some exceptions for that. For example, if you're teaching languages, in terms of articulations with your mouth and where you communicate, that might be relevant. But in terms of the majority of subjects, voiceover and videos, fine. The other reason to do videos is it's much easier to articulate your instructions, what you wish them to do, through voice, as opposed to having to write out very, very detailed instructions. You also then combine that with visual images, stepping the students through what you wish them to do, or the activities and information you're trying to communicate to them. So they're much more effective. You can then also, once you've created these videos, you've got them forever. You can reuse them in different formats as part of your normal teaching process. And you can even connect them to a lot of third-party apps and tools where you can then get students to watch videos and assess them within that, but that's a separate video. So in terms of where to place your video, primarily the steps is how to get videos onto the Connect system. The majority of schools in WA use Connect. It has a file limit of 50 megabytes. So depending on the size of the video, that could be a problem with you effectively or easily sharing your files. Some schools use Teams, and that's coming out to the majority of schools, but we don't have it at our school yet. Some schools use Sector, and they have different video requirements. So with the 50 megabyte limit on Connect, you need to know to compress and shrink your file. This is what this video is actually based on. There's other ways around that. You can start up a YouTube channel, and you don't have to put your name on it. It could be Amazing Teacher at YouTube, and you can share your things like that if you don't want to associate name with it. And all they hear is your voice and your slides. If you want to have don't want to put yourself out there at this time. The advantage of YouTube is when you upload the video, it's going to compress it automatically for you and make it available online. So you won't need a lot of this tutorial that I'm actually going to go through. The other places, people with blogs and other social media tools, there might be ways for you sharing, but I'll leave that to your own investigation. So what we've got here is exporting the correct format. So when we create a video, and in this case, most examples are going to be based around QuickTime, the higher the quality, the larger the file. And we've got a very simple representation there. 480p is a very small file size. That means 480 lines of information on the screen is the smallest size of video. We go to 720, it's larger. 1080p is larger again. Then we've got, you often hear terms like 4K, 8K TVs coming out. So basically more information, more data per image, therefore the file size is larger. We've got the little image down the bottom there, an example out of QuickTime. The video idea could be exported as wide. 4K wasn't available, but 1080p, 720p, 480p. And you need to experiment with your different formats, get on the size. Depends on the image going there. So if it's more audio with a couple of stills, it's fine. If there's lots of detail on the image, you probably want a high video quality. That way the people can see the information you're actually going through, or a way of zooming in when you're doing the video. But I'll leave you to experiment with that. But essentially, the higher the video format, the larger the file size is going to be. So how do we get around this problem, the shrinking to fit in something like Connect that's 50 megabytes if our natural recording is larger? Okay, what I'm going to talk about is compression. Compression is the process we go through of shrinking the files down from our master file. Today we're going to use a program called Handbrake. I'm going to show you how to use that in the most simplest terms. It is a free program. You can get it from handbrake.fr. It runs on both Windows, Mac, and Linux, but if you're using Linux, you're probably very capable anyway. The idea of Handbrake will get your original master file and shrink it down to a smaller size. You can then Therefore, you got a new file. It does not change your original master. You can keep that for the long term. What we see here is an example of progression in action. We've got the original JPEG, which is a little photo, 824 kilobytes in size. We've got an example of here compressing the file down. The one with the smallest we've shrunk it to is 38 kilobytes, substantially smaller. So we've got essentially what looks like the same image but a much smaller image size. And the way it does that in really simple terms is the software actually goes through and sees which images or parts of the image has not changed and only keeps one copy of that. So an example of that, just say I've got this slide here. I've got 10 slides, and to make it smaller, every slide has the word compression at the top. So the software will realize that compression is written on the top of every slide in exactly the same spot. It'll keep one copy of compression, and therefore it only needs 1/10 the amount of space to display the word compression, because it uses the same images all the way through the file, because that hasn't changed. For example, if I don't move the handbrake logo there, that'll only have one copy of that across the 10 slides. Therefore, that's how I can reduce the amount of your data size. You don't really know how to do it, but that's essentially the idea of how it works. So what I'm going to do now is going to pop out here. I'm going to pop out to a program called handbrake. I've got it down the bottom here. So we go to handbrake. It comes up with a queue. I'm just going to close that down. And we've got our image here. You can go File, Open Source, and navigate like a normal file open to it. But I'm going to navigate to my raw files. So these are some of the raw files of other recordings I've been doing around my PowerPoint tutorial voiceovers. I'm just going to do a quick test at the moment, because obviously compression can take a little while depending on what type of computer you've got. So I'm going to use my Keynote camera recording. If we look at the file here, it's just a really quick little video file I've done there. It is 82 megabytes in size. So I'm going to drag and drop that on top of handbrake. It'll load up the file, will give us a little preview. It'll give us lots of information. And for most people, like what compression we're going to use, tracks, what size it's going to express out. For 99% of you, you do not need to change anything. You've got dimensions, full video size, and we can make changes in here. But what we want to use for simplicity is we've got presets. So handbrake has designed all these presets, and that they've already designed the algorithm or the settings to get the best result. In this case, I'm going to use 1080p fast. I use this for a lot of my conversions. But you can also go to a web format, and these will compress them down smaller. But we'll see what the first result's like. That you can compress for specific devices and so on. So I'm going to close these down. I'm going to choose 1080p. It's already been selected. I just click back, and you see it's selected there. 1080p. We can go through our different options here as well, if you want. What we need to do is got a file name here. That's what we've dropped in there. It tells us how long it goes for. It's in case it's saying 30 seconds. It's quite small. And we go Save As. So what we can do, we can browse to where do you want to save it. We want to save it to a different place that we've created got the master from, so we don't accidentally overwrite it. In this case, I've gone to my desktop. I've created a folder called handbrake. We go in there, and we've got the file there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go choose. We're set up. We've got our path there. We're going to hit start. What happens, it just changes slightly on the screen. Down the bottom here, it gives encoding. It'll then start doing the file, and then it'll pop up with an estimate. It's going to take just about 3 minutes to actually convert this file. So I'm going to stop talking, at which point I'll trim the video, so then we'll go to see what the export option is actually going to be at the end. Okay, the file is just about finished exporting now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go have a look at the export result. So we're finished. There's two ways you can do that. You can click on the queue, click the hourglass, and it'll jump straight to the file. So the file, we started with a file which was 82 megabytes in size, and it's been shrunk down to 2.3 megabytes. If we have a look at the size here, and that's our slide going through. So that is a really, really good example of how compression can allow us to maintain the quality and then export that file up. So what we're going to do is try and do it with a much, much larger file. So we're going to do a PowerPoint. We're going to do it with an 813 megabyte file. So if we have a look at the movie, this is a raw recording of what I've done already about recording for PowerPoint. And I'll put this online soon. So if we drop this into handbrake again, it loads itself up. which is did before. Got the file. We're going to select exactly the same option there, preset, and we're just going to hit start. It's already remembered the last place, the handbrake, so we see the file getting created there. Trim on there. So this is actually quite a long video. So it's over 33 minutes. Like I said, this is running on my MacBook, so it's going to take longer. More powerful desktop machines will do it quicker. So we've got our file here. So it's reduced down to 18 megabytes in size, down from 513. So we just click on that and we open in VLC. Good morning. What I'm going to do here is just going to mute that there. Just go to full screen. What's full screen? Play it through. The quality is very, very good. So I have no problems with that at all. So what we've got here, jumping back to the thing about compression, go get handbrake. If your files are large, it'll do compression for you. Just remember, as Adam Sandler films say, you can do it. Yes, it's not hard to do. Like if you're stuck, have a problems, hit me up on Twitter, or if you're at Butler College, whatever, you can come and see me in person to run you through it. But like I said, it's a very simple process. Once you've got that exported file, you can then load up and connect to whatever platform you want to share it on and focus to your students. Still do keep your master files because like I said, in the future, you may want to play those in class on a large screen and you want to retain that quality there. Okay, good luck and hope you enjoy making your videos. Thank you.